All right, this is Kill You Last. I'm Peter Garachi,
I'm Alex Bashira.
and we got Stephen Pratt. Stephen, welcome.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for coming back a second time. It's nice to see you
An
again.
old buddy. We've had him on in the past. What movie did we do with
Alien,
you?
right?
Yeah. That's
Alien.
right.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that was a great episode. Well, I mean, amazing movie.
Yeah.
Kind of a movie that I've been thinking about right now. Alien, being alone, quarantine, people getting fucking eaten alive. But this one, you picked Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. So I'm curious. I have a lot of feelings about this. So I'm curious why you picked this movie. I won't give it away before you say what you think.
I'm kind of a sucker for anything post-apocalyptic. I love that vibe. I just like that aesthetic, the atmosphere of anything post-apocalyptic. I thought this one is probably the weakest. Well, see, I love the first 45 minutes of this movie, and then after that, it's not the best. But I thought because it's so bad, it'd be fun to kind of talk about.
Yeah.
So Road Warrior is, to me, head and shoulders the best of the Mad Maxes.
Yeah, for
and,
sure.
I almost like when Alex said you wanted to do this, I was almost like, ask him if he'd rather do Road Warrior.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I had seen this one. So when I was a kid, this was the commercial for this was on all the time. So this movie was like playing on Channel 11 probably 4 times a week.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, but and to be perfectly honest, I never wanted to see it because of Mel Gibson's hair. Like really, I looked at him and I was like, I don't like him like this. I want him to look better. And so I avoided it for a long, long time. And when Road Warrior became one of my favorite movies, and then I was like,
I like the idea of a young boy like he's not sexy enough. That Mel Gibson in this film.
No, it's like
that is what Peter was.
No, but I idolize a lot of the. I idolize a lot of these guys, and if they don't
sexually.
No, Alex always goes to the lowest common denominator.
He calls it the lowest common denominator because he just wants to avoid and not confront his own feelings. You know?
No, it's not a romantic thing. I mean, Mel's a handsome guy.
He is. No, for sure.
The camera loves Mel Gibson, and he's a great actor too. It's just one of those that I just kind of avoided. But I also like post-apocalyptic stuff, and it's funny because it's like, like what we're going through now. It's like my first thought is like, how right are these movies gonna turn out to be? You hope not too right.
Yeah. You're freezing up a bit, but we'll plow through there.
Sorry about that.
I think you said you hope not to, right? Is that where you're? Okay, good. Yeah. This movie was ridiculous. The characters are insane. The Tina Turner's in the movie, which is weird. And it's obviously her. It's not like this, like, oh, we made it look like it wasn't Tina Turner.
I kept on referring to her as Tina Fey, and I was like, that's a very different movie. That is
not. No. It was strange for sure. I found myself like saying, okay, this movie sucks, and then also saying, but I'm still watching, and I want to be watching this, and I want to see where it goes. So there was a couple of really enjoyable moments. Also, let's just a little bit of the plot. So Mad Max Thunderdome is the third installment of this series. So it picks up things in the Mad Max universe get progressively more and more dystopian as the series goes on. So in the first one, there is like a pretty much normal society-ish, and it's on the brink. It's just the fallout is just about happening, and by the time this movie starts, nobody has like clothing. All the clothing is like makeshift. They're in a desert. It is just complete chaos. So the main setting for this movie is I believe it's called Bargainville, or what was it called?
That's funny. Bargainville's where I got all my clothes from 0 to 8 years old.
Oh, that's right.
It was on layaway. It's Bartertown.
Bartertown. All right. Well, just as shitty of a name, though. I mean, literally the worst name of all time. Most on the nose name of all time.
What warrior princess was in charge of Bargaintown? Who ran Bargaintown?
Jane Krakowski.
So another crackhead. she eventually, Tina Turner.
Tina Turner's she's a horrible actress, I think, in this, and it kind of took me out of it a little bit.
What I like is Bartertown, post dystopian crazy, but they've very progressive female black leader.
They're very hip.
Yes.
Yeah, they're ahead of their time.
Slay.
One of the maybe, and also the only black person in Bartertown.
There's not another. There's not a
She's not
single
making
other.
any more Tinas.
No.
Well, she might make a couple Alicia Keys, but she's not making any more Tinas.
In the movie, her name is his auntie, and I was like, how did she get that name? And I was wondering, it's like she's never seen another black person, and then she found like an old bottle of Aunt Jemima's maple syrup. She was like, that woman looks like me. Call me auntie, and that became her nickname.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I just thought it was racist the whole time. They're just like the only black one. We call her auntie.
Auntie,
yeah.
Steven, have you seen the other Mad Maxes?
Yeah.
So
it's been a minute.
The first one is not good. The first one was like a phenomenon.
Yeah, well, it's got a good premise. It's but it's not the most entertaining. It's kind of slow.
What's interesting about it? There's a lot of like story. No, go ahead, Alex. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say that what you just said, Pratt, I think just kind of applies to all of the Mad Max films. The premise is like great, and it makes for great moments, but overall, it's just like I don't really love the actual movies themselves, if that makes sense.
I do think Road Warrior is a great movie, but like the first Mad Max was just about like sort of like this general fear of like bandits killing everybody. There was a lot of movies where the wife got raped and killed, and then so Max is literally just a regular cop, and his wife gets killed, and so he goes on a rampage, and the last 10 minutes of the movie is the rampage. And that part is awesome, but the rest of the movie sucks.
Yeah.
And it was there's just like an Australian like wave of films coming out of like the late 70s and early 80s, and that was part of that wave. Road Warrior is like, I think, incredible. Like you could just see like they had more money, they were kind of more worked out what they were doing, and it was literally just like open road. Mel Gibson, like it's the ultimate Mel Gibson character. He's just a fucking badass on the road. Killing everybody. Like he tried the people are weak and they need his help, and he's and save their civilization. Then this movie comes around, and it was really, you could see it, and I think they even said at the time it was like the Hollywood Mad Max.
Yeah,
and you could see there's more. They have more money, but it's almost like their heart isn't in it as much. Do you know what I mean? Like they weren't, when they were like, it was like they were young and like they didn't have any money. They're like, fuck it, let's make something cool. And then they got a bunch of money and they're like, it
almost felt like they were making a movie that they wanted to make for, like I said, the first 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's another thing too.
And then it felt like studio heads came in and were like, you know what's big right now? Hook. Hook is huge.
Yeah.
Let's do some Lost Boy shit.
Well, this came out before Hook, which is interesting.
Yeah. So you know what's funny is when I was watching this, I thought about Hook too, and I realized, I'm like, what is it specifically that I don't like about this? And I think I don't like whimsy. Like I don't like when like kids are like magical.
When they went back to Bartertown, they should have got raped and murdered. That's the only acceptable conclusion for when they go back to Bartertown. But instead, they're like beating up adult men. I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, it gets a little crazy. Like
it was gritty real.
Yeah,
well, not super realism, but in the other ones, and a little bit in the beginning of this one, some realism, and it's totally becomes fanciful and just kind of goofy.
So before we talk about like the broader stuff,
the movie is.
Yeah. Sorry,
I was gonna say the movie, like Thunderdome, is the title of the movie, and you're done with the Thunderdome 40 minutes into the movie. It's like if it would be as if the Karate Kid, they had the tournament at like minute 45, and then the rest of the movie is Daniel like working his after school job in high school. Like it's like, who gives a fuck about it?
Yeah, no, I mean,
Daniel's raising a family.
He's now the karate dad.
Yeah,
but it's like hour 2 of the movie. It's like, what is going on?
Yeah, I agree. I was expecting them to like go back to the Thunderdome or something. Like I definitely was surprised, but just to set up, like, because probably not everyone that's listening to this has seen this version of Mad Max. So to Pratt's point, so the movie takes place like basically there's a first 30 to 40 minutes of this movie where it takes place in God, I'm gonna get it wrong again. Barterville. No.
You got the first half wrong. No, I want to say
bargain bin
flea market. Something.
I saw bargain like process in your brain. You're like,
I know.
Bargain.
Oh God, guys. Well, whatever it's called. It takes place in that town, and Mel Gibson is just basically finding his way around. He's looking for someone that they never really explain, and then he meets with the like leader of the town, or so you would assume, and it's like Tina Turner, and she has like her henchmen, and she basically like hires Mel Gibson or like gets Mel Gibson to assassinate this other
mentally handicapped individual.
Well, we find out later he's retarded, which is just a wild turn in this movie.
That's the moral of the whole movie. Is murder the mentally handicapped.
I mean, literally, that's what they do. But can you explain, Steven, like what that guy is, that hybrid like
Master Blaster? I have so many questions because I want to know. So Master Blaster is it's a singular name for two different people,
right?
With complementary disabilities that work together. One is a midget who rides on top of probably a 6'4" burly individual who wears a helmet. So you never see his face until the reveal after Max beats him in Thunderdome. The helmet comes off, and it turns out that he's mentally retarded. And and Mel was like, I'm not, which is so funny when Mel's like, I'm not going to kill him. And it's like, this is a murderous, mentally retarded person. He's already murdered, they say 20 people in the cage that we know of. And it's like, put him down. I mean, this is a rabid dog of a, but anyway, so that's what Master Blaster is. But it's weird because you can't, why is you think he's called like the brains of the operation, the midget who like knows how to generate. Yeah. Master knows how to generate fuel, but he's also retarded. He talks like he's mentally
he's got issues.
Something's going on. So I want to know what my big thing is. I want another movie, the backstory of Master Blaster, and just how they got together and like how they found themselves in Bartertown.
This symbiotic relationship, how that started. Yeah.
So there is a lot of cool like ideas in this movie because like Road Warrior. So George Miller wrote and directed this movie, did all the Mad Maxes. Then he went on to like weird career because he was a medical doctor who started making independent films in Australia. Mad Max becomes a monster hit. He does these 3 movies. Then he goes on to do Babe and Babe.
I love Babe.
Right, like Babe and Babe 2, and then Happy Feet. He created Happy Feet. So he doesn't do another. He doesn't do another adult film until the newest Mad Max. So it's like a 15-year period where he's not even directing like adult films.
Yeah.
And it's like you can already see like in this movie like the seeds of like Babe and all these like you know what I mean? And there's also it's weird. I was very confused because I didn't love the newest Mad Max because I wanted it to be a Mad Max. I didn't want it to be girls and Max sitting in the passenger seat. Like I know that we have to make girl everything now, but I didn't
hate that. I thought it was done better. It wasn't so in your face like some movies.
It was cool. It was the effects were cool, but it was like, where's the movie? Like at the end of the day, it was more like a roller coaster ride than a film. But it's weird how because like watching this one now, having seen the most recent one and all his other stuff, and then going and seeing his original stuff, he like steals both ways. He like steals from his past and his future because Master Blaster, like in Road Warrior, there's the homunculus, which is a giant guy with no shirt on, who's basically like Blaster. And then in the newest Mad Max, there's a midget that rules stuff. So it's like he combined both ideas in a weird way. But I do think that Road Warrior is fucking awesome. But at the end of the day, Road Warrior is like, I'm just going to drive a car and I'm going to kill the bad guys. Like this movie is like much more like has like ideas behind it about how you would create a civilization and how they would have fuel and all this other stuff. It's just like they did it for 30 minutes.
The world building in this one is good. I mean, they kind of give you like, and even though the other stuff with the kids is very hokey and kind of and just kind of stupid, there are moments where I'm like, this could have kind of worked as an idea.
Absolutely.
If they had kept more realism. Because I did like when they're doing like the story, the tell, when they're doing the tell and like they're showing, and it's like I
Yeah.
thought that background was cool. The concept of kids not knowing and developing their own language, like thought went into that. Like it wasn't like just but like it in execution, it didn't totally work.
The execution sucked. The biggest thing that I think that turned people off, or at least turned me off, was the way that language was spoken was so infuriating. Like it's
You mean the Australian accent?
It's basically just fucking Australian.
Kids are hard, dude.
It's not that though. They made them speak like babies, but not really. So it's like completely English, except like they say thing like the goes machine for like a car. It's so stupid. It was like
it's funny because again, like it really is like I don't mind kids in movies, but if it's like too whimsical, it really turns me off. There's this other movie called Fortress that's from the same time and from Australia, and I had seen that as a kid, and I went back and rewatched it recently. And Fortress is based on a true story where it was like a one-room schoolhouse in like the outback of Australia, and the teacher and the students get kidnapped by these three guys. And it's super fucking scary when you're watching this as a kid. They're all wearing, like, one guy's wearing a Santa Claus mask, another guy, they're all wearing like children's like Halloween masks. And at a certain point, like they turn the tables on these kidnappers, and the teacher and the students like viciously fucking murder the kidnappers, and it's incredible. But then they just go back and like pretend like it never happened. And I'm like, that Australians are fucking awesome. Like these, like because like there's a little bit of like savagery. And it's one of the things I like about Australian acting is like there's a little bit of like wildness in them, like, and even like something about, you see it in Mel Gibson, like Mel Gibson just like grunts, and you're like, yeah, that guy's crazy. Like there's something fucking nuts about that guy.
Oh yeah.
But so it's like using kids like in that way is like, oh wow, that's really interesting, and I've never seen that before, and it's like it's kind of like horrifying. This is like you're like, oh,
it's too kitschy.
Lord,
It's like
what are you doing?
Especially
because people were like,
also, when they were doing
just real quickly, you have to imagine, like, people went to the theater being like, yo, I can't wait to see the new Mad Max movie.
Right.
And then the black guys in the audience would have been like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, for sure.
Even Tina's gone.
Yeah, when I was watching the tell, when we were doing the tell thing, I was just like, this feels like alt comedy. They're like some weird performance you'd see in Brooklyn. Yes. Like, this is the tell, the way long ago time in Apocalypse.
Thank you. I mean, literally that's not an exaggeration of how they speak in the film. It's blood boiling how it's just so annoying. But I think if they didn't have like stupid elements like that in it,
I think it
could have been
itself.
good.
I think it redeemed itself a little bit when Mel Gibson punched the girl in the face.
Yes,
I'm pro any movie where children are violently assaulted. Would have been better if she had a little bit more damage.
That I didn't see coming. And he also shoots at her first.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, yeah, that's. I mean,
one kid needed to die in this movie, and I have a much different opinion. I really do. Like if they had one kid, like if the kid did get sucked into the sand, and it was just that girl feeling remorse for leaving the desert, or if they got like, if you just saw a kid hanging from something when they went into the like barter town, like a dead body hanging out front, sort of like Theon Greyjoy does in like Game of Thrones or whatever.
Yeah.
That would have been, I would have been on board with the. It
would have been a little bit dark because
not a fucking train ride out into the desert that followed by a whimsical airplane ride.
It's really such a schizophrenic movie because it's like the beginning is so dark and even like the hue of the movie is dark, and then the literally right at the midway point he gets found by these feral kids, and it's like this fantastical, whimsical, like fairy tale kind of story, and then they return to the dark. It's just it is all over the place. You know, a lot of cool ideas, but like execution and just like the actual scenes were a bit lacking.
So the story, like, I don't know if this is a legend or this is true, but George Miller's like 50-50 partner got killed right before they started making this movie. And I think Miller, what his like heart wasn't in the movie, so he actually even had another guy direct a lot of this stuff, and like George Miller, I think directed all the action scenes, which are the best part of the movie. So there is like it's not like an accident that this movie seems like it's either made one by a guy who's like half in it, or it's literally made by two different
people. Yeah,
and that might also explain why George Miller didn't want to go back to making these kind of movies for a long time. Though you guys seen like Babe 2 is a dark fucking movie. That's another one where you're like, what the hell is this? The original Babe is like a beautiful like family movie, and then Babe 2 is like, let's start with the death right away.
Yeah, he's kind of a schizophrenic, like movie director. I don't know. Part of me has to believe what you just said is true, but also like it's not like there's no editing process. Like this had to change. This was like a multi-million-dollar film. Like if I can watch this one time and go, this is two different movies, or like two different, like drastically different like concepts going on right in the middle of the movie, it's just like that had to be a little bit intentional. So I don't know.
You have to remember too, 1985, a lot of cocaine. We've talked about this many times. I was looking at it. So this is very interesting.
Whenever we reach a roadblock and why the movie falters, it's
you have to remember.
Probably.
Yeah.
You have to remember.
It's, right. I mean, it's no joke. Like True Romance is about a guy selling a luggage full of cocaine to a movie producer, and
what's wrong with that?
And the movie producer that movie is based on is Joel Silver, who literally produced all of these movies.
Wow, Joel Silver, can you be more of a Jew? Jesus. All right, back to your regularly scheduled program.
He's got his hands in on like every single one of these like 80s hits.
Where'd he get the energy for all that?
That's the character in True Romance. He's also the guy, like the character that Tom Cruise is playing in Tropic Thunder. That's Joel Silver.
Which character? Simple Jack?
No. When Tom Cruise as the movie producer.
Oh, yeah.
What's his, like, he's literally doing, that's why, like, everyone in Hollywood's like, oh, that's an inside joke. Like, we all work with that guy.
What's his name again? Joel Silver?
Joel Silver. If you go through Joel Silver's filmography, it's like everything. Commando, Rambo, Back to the Future, Lethal Weapon, like, literally has his hands in everything. And, you know, like, Quentin Tarantino as a first-time screenwriter, like, knew enough to write a movie where the plot of the movie is selling that guy a luggage full of cocaine. So it's not an accident. I wrote some notes down. Like, one was shooting at kids to teach them a lesson is a real lost art. Like, you would never. I was like, wow, that part I actually liked. And then it made me think about. I remember when my mom used to hit me with a box, and then I was like, what? Like literally like a box. Like, she found a box and she hit me with the box.
I love
what kind of. Go ahead.
I love that this movie made you nostalgic.
It did. It made me think about
for what?
It made me think about like what would I do if I was like, oh shit.
That's all good. We can continue on. I could hear you through your internal microphone.
Yeah. Oh, we just clicked back.
All right, you're back. I'll edit that out. It's fine. Oh, now he's out. But Pratt, were we so?
Here?
Yeah, I can hear you, Peter.
I also felt nostalgic when they were shoveling pig shit into the oven. I also felt nostalgic by my childhood.
Yeah,
growing up abused and on a farm.
Yeah,
I grew up on a farm too, and it made me.
Did you? Like, I didn't grow up on a farm. I was joking.
Pratt so clearly didn't grow up on a farm. Like, look at his face.
So I did grow up on a farm.
My family owned people who worked on a farm.
Yes,
beautiful.
I'm
actually curious because this has been on my mind a lot. This like. You know, should we all just start raising animals and go live in the woods? Is living in a city over and all the conveniences that come with it? And do we really need to relearn? Because I would like the argument I always make is that these movies were a warning. Like, Terminator is not a blueprint on how to run a society. Terminator is a warning of what could go wrong if you go down this path. And then we decided to go down that path anyway. So we're not like literally in Road Warrior, they're all fighting over gasoline.
Yeah.
You know? So it's not that far off of where we are. So this
movie is that far off. Road Warrior and the other one are a little bit less far off.
Well, but they're a progression.
It's a progression. 15, I understand.
Years later, 15 years later.
But this movie is intentionally like, all right, we're way off in the apocalyptic zone. It's so almost ridiculous. You know what I mean? And I think that's good. It's like for effect, but it works.
So see, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but you're still working as an EMT.
Yeah, paramedic. Yeah.
So you're still like you're literally on the front lines of all this stuff that's going on. So I don't know how much you want to talk about it.
No, whatever. Yeah, no, it's fine.
Why wouldn't you want to talk about being a hero? We got a hero on the line.
No, that's fair. No, it's actually been getting well. I mean, everything I do, it's anecdotal because it's only my individual experience, but it seems like it's been getting better out.
Good.
To some degree, yeah.
And you're in New York City as an EMT during coronavirus. I mean, you could probably write a book after this. That's a pretty crazy experience.
I mean, it's a little wild. I mean, I'm not working as much as some of the guys, but the peak, there were like 3 or 4 weeks there that were like they were pretty nuts, just on volume of like COVID calls. But it's been the last week. I mean, I don't know that I took anyone that I suspected of having, or they were not presenting COVID symptoms wise my last shift. So,
and when was that? Like yesterday?
What's today? Is today Thursday or
today's Thursday?
Yeah. So yesterday. Yeah. I worked yesterday.
Good. Wow. So like a whole shift without anyone. That's a good sign.
Yeah. Nobody that had. Yeah. No one that was showing signs of COVID.
So
Go ahead.
Let me ask you this: is everyone working in the hospitals in on the hoax, or is that just like the
Good question.
Like at what level? Like are you being told a lie that you have to live?
I'll be releasing a TikTok dance video with all the answers. You got to follow there'll be symbols. They'll let you know. Follow the triangle eye and.
So I don't like.
Yeah, how far up do you have to get before you run into Bill and Melinda Gates, like injecting, African children with like poison?
I'll let you know when I get there.
Yeah, you're not there yet. That's fine. You're young. You still.
It's gonna be weird when a bunch of people get polio all of a sudden. Like,
right.
Where did that come from?
What? Oh, and it's just the Microsoft guy.
One minute it's like having trouble breathing. The next minute you have one short stumpy leg. It's like, what a weird disease is. So we can't make sense of this fucking disease.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you what. One thing I got angry. Like
I'm kidding, by the way.
I'm only a little. I'm not that much kidding.
Oh Jesus! All right. Well, that's okay. We got.
You can believe simultaneously that there is a respiratory disease that's going on, and it's faster than it's more contagious and coming through faster than what we've seen in the past.
Yep.
And also believe that certain people are taking advantage of an opportunity that this disease presents. And I like the thing that made me angry today is Cuomo announcing today that they were going to sanitize the subways. Are you fucking what have they been doing for the last 6 weeks? You fucking scumbags.
Yeah.
Like, and this is what I love about.
I didn't hear that. By the way,
people are like, and I posted this joke. It's like people are like, I can't believe we have a game show president. Oh my God, did you see Cuomo for 2 minutes on the TV? I want that guy to be president. Oh, why? Because he looks good on TV. Like, what are you basing your opinion on? And so for this guy,
I think I know what they mean.
But it's a lot of that.
I think I know what they mean.
Research.
It's a lot of that. You're right. People are kind of
sure, he
very
presents
surface level,
a calming image.
Well, it's what it is they're people don't like Trump so much, and the reason they don't like him, for the most part, is he's not like professional. He's kind of he's an asshole, and he likes being like an asshole, which comedians generally love because he's hilarious. Like he's very funny and he owns a room. So I feel like comedians are partial to Trump, but everyone else, or even obviously the really lefty comedians, they hate Trump because they don't like his personality. So that's what it is. It's not even like the image. It's just his ego and his personality. It's even less about his politics. Really.
Well, there's a lot of there's even studies on CEOs being a certain height. Like there's certain people that project like leadership qualities, and Andrew Cuomo does that. And but my point is that like people are like singing his praises, and then for 6 weeks nobody thought to clean the fucking subways. It's like, what are you assholes doing?
To be fair, I think that's De Blasio's fucking
the
line,
MTA
right?
is controlled by the state. That's actually
really
De Blasio and Cuomo don't get along, and they're always fighting over the subways.
Really?
That's like one of the sticking points is that whenever De Blasio is like, fuck this guy, he's always like, well, he's not giving me the money for the subway. And whenever Cuomo is like shitting on De Blasio, he goes, look, the subways. It's like that's a thing what they like to fight over. But no, I just can't believe that. And again, as an amateur, but somebody who's interested in science and medicine and studied a little bit and read up a little bit, I would think that a tube in the ground with no fresh air would be an area that you would want to look into as a potential place where the disease is spread. And it's showing up that it seems like it's all places where a bunch of people are packed together.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Is where the disease, like nursing homes, prisons, meatpacking plants and subways. If I got Master Blaster in charge, if I asked the retarded part of Master Blaster, hey, what do you want to clean up the subways? I think he would be like, yeah, maybe we should do that first. Like, I don't know.
Yep. No, it's a fair point. I mean, it seems kind of weird. I mean, I guess I'm glad they're doing it. Maybe the idea is, I don't know, maybe I'm very stupid right here, but maybe it's they wanted the disease to like pass through, and now that it's less, they'll clean. I don't know.
De Blasio's just like, embargo.
Yeah. Not shit energy. That was
God, honestly, like
Ooh, run, Barter Town.
I mean,
run, Barter Town.
I didn't realize how funny it was during watching the movie. It was so hard to watch, honestly. But now hearing it back, it's like, wow, that guy is hilarious.
We will not see their like again. We're not going to have a character that's
half midget, half retarded guy.
This is
that is literally what this is.
So good.
We talk about this in Goonies, and again, like this is something where now everybody's beautiful.
Same actor. It's the same actor.
No, but like having Sloth.
Yeah, what's that guy's name?
Sloth Love Chunk. No, but it's like, and one of the things that starts to happen when things fall apart is that you have more genetic abnormalities, and they're thinking like even
is that what they were going for?
Well, no, it's like that's what's showing up in this movie, and it's kind of sad because we don't have. I wouldn't mind the occasional giant retarded guy with a midget. Like I think there's something like, and I'm not even
talking about. I mean, not that you would mind him. I get that, but what do you mean? You want people like that walking around?
I grew up. There was more.
You're cutting out, Peter.
Oh fuck! I'm trying.
I think what he said is, Steven, you can ride me anytime you want.
Yes. Yes. Now get on it, you two.
Yeah.
While Peter figures that out, it's fine. We get it. I'll do some editing. I've been teaching myself video editing over this. So have you been swamped, like working extra hours as an EMT during this whole crisis?
I basically originally I was working per diem, so it was basically just once a week, and that's essentially what I stuck to because I didn't want to get overly exposed, and also they already have their own shifts that are kind of pretty much covered.
Oh, okay.
What was happening was I was basically getting held over 2 to 3 hours additional almost every shift, just because we would get bogged down. There were just so many. We're just doing just urgent care, just like urgent care calls back to people who are showing up with severe shortness of breath and they're like crazy hypoxic.
What does that mean?
Their oxygen their oxygen saturations were like super bottom, like for what a person who doesn't have a normal respiratory like condition like COPD or emphysema. Well, COPD is part of emphysema, but if they're our normal like oxygen saturation is like 100% to like 98%, and these people I was seeing them, the last COVID patient or likely COVID patient that I took, her oxygen saturation was like 73%, which is just like it's like I thought I was gonna have to intubate her when I first saw her, but but they've been doing, at least in my experience, my limited experience, they've been doing pretty well just with at least in the temporary phase. I don't know whether she might have ended up going on a ventilator later. But doing well with just a non-rebreather and like high concentration oxygen, it brings their stats up. And she went from being lethargic, kind of somnolent, to actually coming around and starting to like being very alert. And I was shocked. I was like, I thought I was going to have to intubate, go do a whole thing, take them really to the closest facility. But they ended up doing pretty well.
That's what I've heard a lot, is that it's one of the things that's so confounding about this is that you have people that seem like they're okay,
right,
and then they test their oxygen level in their lungs, and they should be like, their body should be failing, and they don't know quite why. And it actually looks like they thought for a while it looked like altitude sickness, right? Where the blood is just not, the oxygen is just not saturating in the blood, as if they were having trouble breathing because the atmosphere was thin, but they're clearly at sea level here in New York.
Yeah, I know there's been a lot of, so it's like there are a bunch of things, because I think some people were getting a lot of fluid in their lungs, so they're obviously having pneumonias, which is going to affect like your diffusion at your alveoli. There was also, and someone was talking about whether, because when we do the oxygen saturation, it just measures the amount of oxygen attached to the hemoglobin in your blood, and they were saying something like if it were atmospheric, you would. I forget. There was something about whether it would have not conjointly affected if it was just affecting the hemoglobin. But this might be different than the atmospheric thing. You would have seen, because there's a limited amount of oxygen that's also carried in the blood plasma that's not attached to the hemoglobin. But they were seeing it was mirrored on a drop in both, where if there was a different issue. I haven't gone over this in a minute.
I mean, they're still like trying to figure out what's going on, right? There's like
it's brand new.
There's a lot of like conflicting. Here's my
part of it is that the world, everything that China has put out is unreliable.
Yeah.
And the World Health Organization, because they're essentially
China.
I don't know. Yeah, it's in bed or in league with.
I mean, it seems that way, right? Wait.
So there's for sure. I don't know to what degree. I don't think anyone knows exactly, but they obviously have some pull. How much is.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to me, how much the WHO has misled the public, and just say at one point they were saying masks, you don't really need them, and now it's obviously you do. So it's wait,
they were saying not person to person transmission,
human to human transmission. Yeah, that was in January.
The misinformation has been crazy. But so here's the crazy. So it's part of it is, and this I just was watching a video. They were talking about how. So now what China's, because of this global pandemic, the analogy I heard was great. China's, because now all these businesses are tanking. Yeah. China's buying tech companies from other countries, and they're getting because they need the money. And the way the guy described it was, he said, when you get pushed in the water and you're drowning, you'll take a hand from anybody, even the guy who pushed you in the water. And it's that's right. So now they're going to own so much more of. I mean, they're just basically owning other countries. They're buying up debts, and they're putting in a 5G. I forget it was Portugal and. Somebody else. They're putting up all their 5G network. It's crazy.
They've been quietly doing this in Africa for decades. They control all the telecom in Africa. They bought up a ton of the land, and everyone. And the thing is too, it's really interesting is that we created the monster of China. In the 70s, we decided, the United States decided, let's just ship all of our manufacturing over here. And we'll get super cheap products, and let's just hope for the best.
Yeah, or just short-term thinking. No one was thinking long-term.
And it was Republicans and Democrats that did this. It was both sides for different, maybe for different ideological reasons, but both sides were this is a great idea. And then even someone, Italy is a country that I care a lot about and spent a lot of time in. I remember going to Italy 10 years ago and wanting to buy leather shoes, which Italy is known for.
Yeah.
And people were oh, no, we don't even make good stuff here anymore. Don't buy leather while you're here.
Yeah.
It's all Chinese made. And
I just want to take the time to say that, you should and you could and you should be critical of the Chinese government without being racist towards Chinese people and Chinese Americans. So that's not what's going on here, people. Anyone that's a moron listening, we're being critical of the Chinese government and the World Health Organization, which has had documented misinformation, when supposedly being the leaders of the information in this crisis. So I don't know. I think it's obvious that the Chinese government has some abhorrent practices against their own people, against the people that live in Hong Kong. I mean, there's been protests recently, as of right before this virus, where they were just shooting people in the streets in Hong Kong. I mean, it's just. They're brutal.
The CCP is crazy. And they do this the same thing they do with the World Health Organization is what they do in the UN too. We all. I mean, I think pretty much every.
I think big superpowers kind of do this.
Yeah. But
anything that has world or united or international in their name, I don't trust as a matter.
Well, we're just as guilty. It's a good point, though. The U.S. and China, any big superpower has influence over those multi-global, global organizations. 100%. It's of course they do. There's over 200 countries in the world. Does the 200th largest country have an equal say that to the U.S. in the UN? Of course not. It's
but
not
we also the U.S. is historically funded organizations where people sit around and talk shit about the U.S. That's literally we give all this money and then they sit around and there was a movie
you could say that, but you could also say we historically go in and kill civilians in Middle Eastern countries. I mean, we definitely do that. There's just no argument, Peter.
Were they in the way? Did they
of what?
Did they take shelter? I don't know.
Civilians?
I don't even know enough to make.
I get it. That's the only thing. War is the only thing I get kind of serious on. I don't even really care. Who cares? Whatever. Everyone's gay.
It might I've heard this said too. There's very few national or international calamities that don't lead to war. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
when we had the Great Depression, people don't realize the Great Depression was a global phenomenon. It wasn't just happening in the United States. And the seeds of World War II came out of that.
At
Yeah,
minimum, Cold War seems like for sure
Yeah.
with China. Like,
But I'm
it's not already happening.
That's a good point. I think so.
I'm big into like local stuff and like craftsmanship, and I think we've lost. We like for this is like a stupid example, but like clothing. Like I come from people like there was people in my family who were tailors. There's people in my family who my grandmother came to America and she was working in a shirt factory, like literally cutting fabric all day. We like decided that like textiles and that art form we weren't going to do that anymore. So what do you have now? You fast forward to the 2010s. So instead of having Italian ladies cutting fabric and sewing clothes, you have 16-year-old Dominican and Albanian girls working at H&M selling people $13 pairs of pants. So it's still clothing. It's the same industry. But we traded like making it here and like putting people to work in the actual manufacture of it into just having kids basically selling it to us so that you have 30 pairs of cheap pants rather than going to a tailor and getting 3 pairs of good pants made. So I'm really hoping
I still only have 3 pairs of pants. I would just like
I went through all of 8th grade with 1 pair of jeans, and my mom thinks that I'm lying, but she's crazy because she wouldn't buy me any pants that year. I had 1 pair of jeans for all of 8th grade. But I do think, and even now it's like people are like, oh, I can't believe that all our medicine is coming from China. Guess what? All of the meat gets processed at 3 plants.
Yep.
Total in the United States, and I think Canada, all of their meat comes from 1 processing plant.
Yeah.
So how is that any better than getting all of your penicillin or vitamin C from fucking China? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping there's a movement towards fuck this microphone.
Keep going.
I'm hoping there's a movement towards
plastic,
less uniformity, less. The closer you can get to the source of things, the better
Peter,
they're going to be.
It's not going to happen though because people are unwilling.
They may have to.
American executives are at fault here. They're unwilling to pay. American wages for factory work.
It's not just
they won't do it.
Part of the issue is though it's the nature of globalization when you have shareholders in companies because if you start to they're incentivized and there's no way they legally can't not do it because then they'd be going against shareholder interests to not get cheaper labor outsourced. Yep. So I don't know what that. So this is they have to write something in law where it's going to take a governmental intervention to get to the point.
You're right. It's a regulation.
But that's what tariffs are for. That's historically how you protect domestic production. And say what you will about Trump, but Trump was talking about putting tariffs on China before this became an issue, and then why tariffs are in place became clearer after this because you can't. And again, like I come from construction workers, people in my family were in unions, and labor in this country is a victim of its own success because right now, if you're a forklift operator, you're getting $50 an hour. That those labor costs start to go up. So labor got so expensive, and with all the insurance and the pensions and all that stuff, that companies are like, fuck it. Well, it's cheaper to go to Vietnam and pay the whole factory what it costs us to pay 1 American worker back in the United States. It's something to be. It has to be. I do think I'm hoping there's like a new labor movement in this country, and not necessarily like factories and not necessarily unions, but there's got to be something in this country where people start to really look at like work and what people are actually doing. Because I think there's a lot of meaning in work, and I think a lot of people are unhappy because they've lost the meaning. What are they doing all day long? Do you know what I mean? It's just crazy. And I think if this is an opportunity, I hope that the opportunity is not wasted.
That's some wishful thinking in my opinion. I just don't think it's possible. Things have been set in motion for 20, 30, 40 years of the way, things are produced in the world. We don't even have the infrastructure to do it anymore. Even if we wanted to, even if we had all the regulations in place, we had the wages ready to go, we would need to build the factories again. I guess we would, but it's not going to happen overnight.
To be honest, my number one priority is fucking opening up the Jersey Shore for this summer. If the governor of New Jersey keeps the beaches closed, I will lead I will be the Patrick Henry of New Jersey leading a march through, we're going to the beach this summer. There's no way Jersey's not going to the beach this summer. That's my number one priority. I just built a beach house. There's no way I'm not going to the beach this whole summer. And guess what? Not a doctor, but my whole life I've been told that sunlight and fresh air are disinfectants, and salt water too. Salt water is good for you.
Wait,
so there's no way.
Wait, you're not a doctor?
I was pre-med for 3 semesters there, buddy. It was really.
Were you really?
Yeah.
I didn't know. Oh,
I started out in college as in fact, my grandfather is still mad to this day. He calls me dottore sometimes. He's like pissed because he thought I was gonna have a doctor in the family.
Do you want to explain to us what dottore
just means doctor in Italian.
Oh, okay.
But he's like he's pissed because he was
serious just then.
I was. Yeah, very dumb.
Alex not being
I
able
thought
to
you were
figure that out?
ironically fucking with him. I was like,
No, that would have been good.
Can you
though.
explain that word that sounds exactly like the word in English?
I don't know. I heard something else.
And use clues from the
context.
conversation that might give you an insight into what might possibly it could be.
What am I, a doctor? Come on.
What am I?
A dottore?
Dottore?
But I was like I said, I'm still very interested in medicine, and I remember some stuff that I learned back then, and I have even if I'm not up to speed on stuff, like I have enough of an understanding that I could read about a new disease and be like, oh, this looks an awful lot like X, Y, and Z, and like how is it possible that this is a respiratory virus and they're telling me that it acts nothing like any respiratory virus ever before ever. Like that seems a little like this. Here's a conspiracy this would be a conspiracy theory. They started testing for the virus and people were testing positive before they isolated the virus. So what were they testing for?
What do you mean before they isolated the virus?
They announced that the virus was isolated after they announced that certain people had started testing positive. Like I think Tom Cruise was the first one.
What do you mean isolated? They I mean, if you believe China, or I guess you can't, but they didn't they sequence the genome back in like late December and send it out?
Can I say something?
Yeah, please.
What I love about this podcast right now is that it's mirroring the movie we just watched, where the first 45 minutes you're like, oh, this is about one thing, and now the second half you're like, whoa, it's very virus.
Why is Mel Gibson punching a girl right now?
Why are there?
We should have more of that. Yeah,
I know. Can you imagine if you showed someone the second half first, and then you went back to the second half first, and then you showed them the first half second? They'd be like,
they wouldn't believe you that it's the same movie. It's crazy.
And what if just the midget showed up in the where the kids are?
I like
and they thought that was their. It's easy to think that your magical savior is Mel Gibson, circa 1985.
Right.
It's another thing to believe like this is what we've been waiting for this whole time.
Yeah, the guy who's 2'11" with.
What is he? What do they have? Do they have the guy's tombstone? Is that who the guy they're looking for? And they read. Does it? What? Is it his tomb? Like.
You talking about Captain Walker?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was very Boston.
Captain Walker?
Walker.
That's pretty good Australian. That's pretty good there.
Oh, okay. It came out very New England.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they had something written on the wall, and I wanted to go back and see what it said because I didn't get a good read of it.
Yeah, it was almost like they were looking at a tombstone. They didn't understand that it was announcing that the guy was dead.
I thought what was written on the wall was that I thought the adults just left the kids. Like they were like, God have mercy on our souls, because I thought they just abandoned the children.
Oh, and maybe all the adults died.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know.
I thought it was symbolic for like the kids being on their own, the waiting one or whatever they called themselves.
If only they had washed their hands and worn masks.
Oh, that's the other thing. So what I was wondering, I'm like, so remember the guy has the radiated water and they can't drink the water.
Yeah.
So that was I like that. But then I was like, what are the kids drinking? Just that water by that stream? Are they not affected by the radiation? Or is it like an underground stream that wasn't affected by the radiation? They
definitely didn't.
Why are there camels in Australia?
That's not
is that
right.
normal?
No.
Why Tina Turner's the only one who doesn't have an Australian accent?
No Australian accent, and the only black one, and she's Tina Turner, and it's obvious.
So I want to get there's a couple trivia things. So Tina Turner was like a monster. I remember
Just
like
a
being
full-on
forced to
monster.
listening.
She
Well, no,
just
like a
scared
monster,
children.
like
she was
superstar.
just, no, she was just like, I'm a monster.
She was no, she was like a superstar at that point.
I
So they're
know,
like, oh, we
I
gotta put
know.
her. But she hadn't done a movie like she was in like Tommy 10 years before, and she like never does a movie again. And she's the second lead of this film, which is really
She wasn't good.
But I think the reason the camels are there is because the opening of this movie is like a ripoff of Lawrence of Arabia. Like Mel Gibson even looks like Lawrence of Arabia. And so what he's going after? So in the Road Warrior, he has his souped up car.
Yep.
And what he's going after, what the camels are pulling, is the chassis of the car. So he's trying to get his car back. That's what That's why he goes to Bartertown, because he's trying to get so that he can rebuild his car.
But doesn't he say he's looking for someone?
Yeah, but he's looking for the guy that stole the car.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah.
And it's also like it's funny because I'm going back. There's Dashiell Hammett, who wrote like The Maltese Falcon, is probably his most famous book that was turned into a movie. He wrote a book called Red Harvest, which is like a detective novel, and that novel has been like the basis of like 15 movies. And it's basically a stranger with no name comes to town, and he pits the two warring bosses against each other. And that's literally what Bartertown is. And if you watch Fistful of Dollars, which is the Clint Eastwood movie that made him a star, that's the plot of that movie. If you watch Yojimbo Samurai movie, it's the plot of that movie. It's literally like the most. If you watch Miller's Crossing, it's like one of the early Coen Brothers movies. So it's kind of cool. Like,
yeah, they literally call him the man with no name when they introduce him into Thunderdome.
Yeah, so that like that.
Oh yeah,
it's funny because it's like because I've been thinking about writing this whole lockdown and have not fucking gotten any writing done. But I'm like, the thing I'm hung up on is like plot. Like I've never, like the thing that scares me about writing a screenplay or writing a book is like, can I figure out how to like do a plot? And then I'm watching this movie and I'm like, this is literally the same fucking plot of 15 other movies that I like. So,
well, you get down to even just beyond the plot, like the hero's journey. It's so hard to even get out. Like, how do you? It just sort of feels. Anytime you start to write something, it just feels like you're plugging into a formula almost.
Yeah, and really, the formula is like what saves you. Mm-hmm. It's thinking that you're going to reinvent the wheel is what gets you to the point where you're 6 weeks in a fucking lockdown. Like I couldn't ask for like a better scenario where I could write for 6 hours a day, 7 days a week, and no one would bother me. And then still, I'm like looking for excuses, and I'm like, fuck, all I got to do is just rip off the plot of another movie.
Yeah,
just go ahead and do that. Yeah. All right. So I know you have to do your comedy show with Comedy Pete.
Oh shit! So I'm going on with Debbie Gibson in a couple minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Speaking of 80s pop stars.
Comedy Pete knows Debbie Gibson?
He's been like reaching out to her on Instagram. So this episode's going to come out after
Comedy
after
Pete's trying to get some puss. I like
He definitely is. Hell yeah. I hope he does. When do you think the last time he got laid was? I mean, like 100% honest. I don't know. It's been
I'll tell you what,
probably a while, though.
It was Amy Schumer, and it was Minetta Lane behind the Comedy Cellar. No, okay.
Yeah. I like to believe Pete could pull Amy, but
he's been reaching out to Debbie Gibson, and so she's gonna do his Instagram live, and I'm doing it.
Yeah, dude, have fun with that.
Oh,
yeah, obviously it's live, and you're doing it now, so it's not gonna be out. This episode.
Yeah, I don't know if he's gonna try to like figure out a way to record it and
Well, I mean, go have fun either way. You could also do a screen recording of it, so you could.
So yeah, it's funny because when I was a kid, like in the car with my sister and my mom, I had to listen to Debbie Gibson, and I had to listen to Tina Turner. And I had to listen to Whitney Houston. So like for me, like it's like this is all
describe it that way when you talk to her tonight.
And then my mom
you have to tell her.
I had to listen to you.
Yeah,
and then my mom hit me with a box. Right. She literally hit me with a box.
Wow.
It's fine though. We're cool now. I'm over it now.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I'm sorry to cut this short. I'm sorry that we ended up in fucking Childville for no reason.
Yeah, it's fine. Pratt, you have a new podcast you were talking about? Is that out yet?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. So we're it's a podcast. It's called Recoil Now. I follow us at Recoil Now Pod on Twitter, and Recoil just at Recoil Now on Instagram.
Nice.
It's on iTunes and Spotify or whatever. It's myself and another comedian friend of mine from Boston, Jonathan Tilson, very funny guy. We just kind of, I've known him for years and years, and so we just kind of shoot the shit about life, stand-up comedy, and talk, contemporary issues and all that kind of stuff. Keep it light, keep it funny. It's good. I'm enjoying it.
Cool.
Yeah, and if also
and you guys just started, right? Like,
yeah, we're probably. I think we're probably thinking the next episode is going to be episode 6. So,
nice, dude.
Yeah,
nice,
it's been fun. Thanks.
Hell yeah. Good luck, and I'm sure it's great. I got to start listening.
Yeah, we're gonna start doing guests at some point, so we'll see.
And everyone listening should go ahead and listen to Steven's podcast. Also, Stephen Pratt is a great Twitter follow, so you should follow him on Twitter. We'll put all the links in the description. Yeah, I mean, you're very funny. My mom likes your tweets. I don't know.
She's so sweet. Yeah,
I think she
follows Geek Sauce too.
She probably does. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and that's it. So hopefully, if we're all still alive after or if we're allowed to go in groups of more than 25 people.
Yes.
Geek Sauce Comedy at Geek Sauce Comedy, Instagram, Twitter. It's a show I run out of Brooklyn out of Anyone Comics.
It's a fantastic show.
Oh, thanks so much, man. Yeah, the last one was fucking nuts. So
yeah, my calendar's wide open right now, Steve. So
when we're allowed to actually do it again, I'll
name a date.
I don't. Yeah, I have no idea.
Just pick a date. I'll put it in my calendar right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what I have to talk to that guy again and figure out when. Hopefully the business doesn't go under. Like that's what I'm literally. I'm gonna message him. I sent him a message because he's trying to do like online orders and stuff. And,
okay.
Yeah. So Anyone Comics, if you're looking to get comic books, order them online from there. Help out a local business in Brooklyn that's doing its thing.
Yes. But yeah, no. I mean, eventually we will be out of this. And either way, I mean, it's good time to start a podcast because.
Thanks, we've been meaning to do it for forever, so it's kind of like the one, take the opportunity. And then again, yeah, like you're saying, my Twitter and Instagram is at the Stephen Pratt. For both Instagram and Twitter.
Steven spelled with a PH.
PH, thanks.
Pratt's with 2 T's. And Peter, you're just going to be, we're going to be doing this. We're going to be doing this. Even though they're one of these tomorrow, right?
I was on Let's Get Loud, Larry Bea's show on Compound Media, which is still available on YouTube. That was a really fun time. Did that last week. And then I think I'm doing Debbie Gibson now. That's all I know.
All right.
I'm not doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're going to have sex with Debbie Gibbs.
You're going to put your
I'm going live.
Put your peener in her.
Yep.
No.
It's exciting. Say hi to Comedy Pete from me.
I will do.
And yeah, we love you guys. We'll be back. What's our movie? What movie are we doing tomorrow, Peter?
Labyrinth.
Labyrinth. Okay, I got to watch that tonight.
Yeah, Jim Henson's Labyrinth. Steven, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, I appreciate
again.
it. So it's good. I'm glad you guys are doing well, and hopefully we'll be able to see each other in person and not too long.
Stay safe, man.
Yes.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
You're a funny guy, Sully. I like you. That's why I'm going to kill you last.
What do you want to tell me now, tough guy? I said, Bing, what are you doing here? I thought I'd tell you to go fuck your mother.